I've decided there's a topic for tonight. Do you know what the topic's going to be? It's going to be about, like, what do we have the right to do? Like, and what do others have the right to do? And does our liberty end where somebody else's liberty begins? And I feel like it kind of does. And look, just some background. Growing up, I was a really big Democrat. My parents are still Democrats to this day, very dyed-in-the-wool Democratic people. My mom, she loves Biden. Do I love Biden? No, I don't. But she loves Biden. She thinks America's doing so much better under Biden, even though, we do have issues with inflation. And I also think he's too old to be running for office. And anytime a younger, more cognitively enabled candidate is presented, they discredit him because, I don't know, there's been a lot of talk about how different people are behind Biden. And I don't even care. That's not really what this is about. What I want to talk about is bullying. And it can happen even towards celebrities. And it's a trend that I'm seeing on the social media that I find very toxic, negative, and unhealthy. So, I'm not necessarily saying that all people that are pro-striking are liberal and all people that are right to work are conservative. I actually think it's okay to strike. I think striking can be a good thing, but I feel like this whole WGA strike is actually being kind of blown out of proportion a little bit. So, Drew Barrymore said she was going to go back to, filming her show. I don't even watch TV, but you go on TikTok and you are immediately told what you're supposed to believe about life. You're told what you're supposed to believe. What your opinion is supposed to be about life. About anything. And I just don't know as if I agree with that. I think it's one thing if you share your view, and I don't know what it is about, is this a Generation Z thing? Because it does seem that this is a very Generation Z thing. And I don't think all Generation Z people feel this way. There's more, I hate to say it though, it's more like independent and left-leaning Generation Z people who don't feel this way. But it seems like it's really popular to always have somebody new to kind of drag through the mud. And maybe I'm different because I'm Zennial, tail end Generation X, a couple years before millennials. So I grew up watching Drew Barrymore movies. I like her. I think she's fun. But at the end of the day, I feel that she's a human being. She can make whatever choices she wants in life. The lady has suffered enough trauma. She's suffered a lot of trauma. So I'm just finding it pretty darn disgusting, things that people are saying to her, and the hypocrisy from liberal people, okay? Because guess what? Oh, there's other, I decided to do some deep diving on this, okay? I didn't really care about this opinion until TikTok told me what I should believe about this. So, first off, Drew Barrymore decided to halt production on her show. She was going to go through with it, I guess, saying she was going to get along without the writers, which really wasn't a bad thing because there's others that work on her show, and they would have been out of work if the show wasn't being put into production. So maybe she was thinking about them. Wonder? No, the WGA writers say that's impossible. It's just all about them. And then you kind of, look, I was a kid during the first, big WGA strikes and the ones back in 2007 and 8. I remember things. And I know they're saying that, some people are on TikTok saying, oh no, they're going to be homeless unless they get a higher raise. And yes, maybe they should be paid more. I mean, but when you look at what the celebrities make, yeah, they probably should be paid more. But here's the thing. I Googled it. I put into my little Googles, which anybody can do. I typed in, what is the highest WGA salary per week? Or the lowest, the minimum. The average seems to be $250,000 per year. And then the minimum seems to be somewhere about $4,000 a week. So I don't know in what world you would be homeless if you're making that. And all I did was I commented on a few TikTok people's, and I always said before I wasn't going to comment on people's videos anymore. But I felt like kind of saying, because I noticed that there were a lot of TikTok videos saying that her ass was failing, talking about Drew Barrymore. That's disgusting to hear another woman say that, by the way, about a woman. That, oh good, she finally decided to back down, but she's still and they were kind of calling her names, and I just said in one video, I said, well, I don't really like it when people call names, and I told them I just don't agree with you and I have another opinion. And this person, instead of just like discussing it with me, just blocked me, because my opinion was, I said, you know, I'm not anti-union. I do think people should strike, but I guess I'm thinking more about like Amazon warehouse employees that might be living in their cars, making a lot less than a WGA worker. And by the way, if you looked into this issue a little bit deeper, they're like, but if the WGA wins this strike and they get what they want, it's going to help everybody. But there's a lot of writers that don't even get into WGA, which is invite only, by the way. Invite only. It's a very... So I was reading some Reddits about it. I was just doing a little bit of minimum research to see, and they make more money than a lot of people in general. I don't think that they're suffering from homelessness like people who actually are. And my only point was, I kind of get tired about how every other week we have a new person that we have to drag through the mud, call names, and I see a lot of young people doing this, and I just don't understand when this became a thing, and it's a really unhealthy thing. But how do we move forward? I'm just saying, I think we need to be on social media and say, that's not okay. Knowing what Drew Barrymore went through in her life and people making these comments about her and saying, oh, well, it's okay because she's in a place of power. I don't know if you guys know, but just because somebody's a celebrity doesn't mean that they're not vulnerable. The toxicity of name calling, bullying, calling someone a scab, like just getting down on her, saying, oh, we're going to make her change her opinion. And then when she did, okay, nothing's ever good enough. When she did, they're still making TikToks about how it's not good enough. She should have did this in the beginning. She should have showed solidarity. But then what if somebody disagrees with you? So you just call people names and you're belligerent to them? So no, it's not okay. But then it just got me to thinking, this is kind of why I don't really watch shows anymore. And I'm not really into TV because I feel like they're kind of making it seem like, oh, if the WGA doesn't get what they want, I mean, they probably should be paid more, of course. But I think there's other workers in the world that are suffering far more. I'm not anti-union, but at the end of the day, if a company wants to be right to work, I don't know. Should we tell them no? Probably not in California, but in Arizona they do. Different states operate in different angles, you know. Different states have different models about how they do things. But I don't know that calling Drew Barrymore names is good, because what if she was in a very vulnerable place and all these people to make their little point and to get what they want? Like, what if she had done something? Like, what if that had affected her mental health? It's like, but the excuse of these people were, oh, because we're going to get her to do the right thing by dragging her through the mud and calling her names, but it's still not good enough. And at the end of the day, I can't respect people like that. So I just said, why can't we have different opinions? Whatever happened to having a respectful, different opinion? And I know that some younger people, 18 to 25, can do that, but it is alarming that it's just becoming that people jump on a bandwagon. In fact, a few months ago, if I remember right, I mean, I wasn't really part of the Ellen DeGeneres controversy, but I kept seeing things on TikTok about how Drew's great and Ellen bad. Drew's good, Ellen bad. And it just seems like they're always creating some new drama. And I don't really like that it's at the expense of an actress, like, even though I don't watch her show. I like some of her movies, but I really don't watch her show. And I don't watch TV in general, and I sometimes think it's kind of a first world problem for people that do have a house and do have a place to eat and sleep, because there's actually literally people probably in their own city that are homeless and suffering from mental health, and they're mad at Drew Barrymore for not doing enough. They're just so mad at her. Like, they're mad at her for not doing enough. But what about Gavin Newsom? Our governor in California, who's not doing anything about the homeless crisis. And another thing that I know is, like, let's say somebody has a mental health issue and you're trying to get them into some sort of, like, living situation facility. These are supposed to be available, and you're trying to help them. A lot of the places don't have availability. They give you the runaround. They don't pick up the phone. But supposedly there was funding for this. And then other people who just live on the streets and the city doesn't give up the doodles. The government and the county, like in LA, you go to parts of LA and it's just, there's lots of homeless people. There were funds, okay? There were literally funds to build housing for these people. I just believe in the United States, with all those taxpayer dollars that was supposedly invested into housing, there shouldn't be homeless people. This shouldn't be happening. But people are so mad at whatever celebrity it is this week. And I don't know, I'm just so over it. And this is part of the reason I just don't like the liberal conservative divide, because conservatives do it too. Like, they have all their little pet things where they want to cancel people, but I feel like maybe liberals do it a little bit worse. And how do I know that? Former Democrat girl. Because I kind of stopped being a Democrat when I saw how cool it is to call people names, and why name calling is so popular, and just dragging people through the mud, and all this divisiveness. And I don't know, like 15, 20 years ago, people used to be able to be like Democrat and Republican and be friends and have a fun conversation, and they didn't hate each other. But now it's just like, we are having this promoted on TikTok, and I have to question why. I mean, I'm not really ready to delete the TikTok app, but sometimes I think about it. I just question, like, who is promoting this? And the drama? To promote that drama, there's a reason. Because there's somebody who benefits from the drama. And if you don't stop and think about who benefits from the drama, then, you didn't do the assignment. This is another reason I just don't like shows and movies, and I'm like, I will occasionally watch movies, but I'm stepping way back from any kind of, there's just, I used to think people like 20 years ago that said they didn't watch TV were just so out of it. I mean, I look at YouTube videos, I look at some TikTok, which I'm going to be doing a lot less now. Instagram's a little bit better because it's more tailored to what I want, but for some reason lately, TikTok's just been telling me that I need to have certain political beliefs that just seem very skewed, and the comments are just very vitriolic, kind of hateful comments, but they're the people saying that they're good and they're right, and there's no like discussion of anything anywhere. It's just like, I'm right, you're wrong. I don't know, is that the kind of world people want to live in now? And the whole solidarity thing, they're not about solidarity, they're about division. As long as you just go along with whatever they're telling you to be mad about this week, it's all good. But the bigger issues, don't think about those. Don't think for a second, oh, and I was going to get back to, they were calling Drew Barrymore a scab, but like in some of the searches I did, Bill Maher, he's done the same thing. He's ran his shows through all sorts of writer strikes, but he's a man. And these are pro-liberal people. He's a man. And they weren't dragging him through the mud, but Drew Barrymore, they're on social media calling her names. And this woman has been traumatized all her life. I just think it's disgusting. I think anybody that called her name, scab included, you need to do some self-reflection within you, because that's not okay. It's not okay. They're making it sound like she's some sort of CEO corporate baron that's wearing furs and like going in their face and going boo 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 boo. And I'm like, there's plenty of other rich people in the world. Why are you going after her today? I don't know. And then I have my my suspicions about like why they want us all bickering with each other, the TikTok thing. I don't know. Something really happened to me over the weekend that kind of upset me too, that my websites went capoodle and I had to call HostGator and get them fixed because, data breach with a bot. And I'm like, you know what? So cybersecurity is a real thing, and I just have a little art website, and I question why TikTok is gearing videos to the U.S. populace that are causing division or just more distraction. But look, in mainland China, their version of TikTok, ByteDance, has STEM videos. Like, you can watch STEM videos in the U.S. too, by the way, after the congressional hearings that made it more things. So I'm not saying TikTok is dangerous. I mean, but when I see these things happen, I do think that there's a purpose to creating dissent like this and making people like, and also it's a little deceptive too, because the free market economy is what has kept all healthy, robust economies functioning, and people who want to pretend like socialism is better, they're not even looking at what China does, because China, it might be socialist, communist in certain ways, like you can't question the government, but in other ways they're very pro-free market economy. You just can't question the leaders, like any leader, anybody in PRC. But if you just want to like buy a lot of stuff and become an up-and-coming Nouveau Riche person, that's totally fine. But a lot of young people today, they're like talking about the failures of like capitalism in the West, and these are the talking points of communism. Like, I used to really love FDR. I used to really be pro FDR, but when I was younger, like, you were just taught, like, FDR was great. He made the country better, but, like, the Great Depression didn't really end until World War II because we started ramping up production for the war. It did improve things infrastructure-wise, but it didn't really help our economy, okay? Our economy remained stagnant. It wasn't the miracle that it was. And I actually had a AP US history teacher that kind of pointed that out. But I don't know, I read so many things written by liberal writers saying how great the New Deal was, and I was like, why did he feel that way? Like, what was he talking about? But it took me a while to finally realize, yeah, it's true. And there's a lot of things about FDR that weren't so great. And in hindsight's 2020, you just start looking at these things, you're like, oh, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat, but why did FDR run 4 terms when nobody else did? Why was every other candidate that could have been viable shut down? That's interesting. And there was something I read about one of the Republican candidates that he compiled something about FDR and Churchill, talking about their hypocrisy. I almost want to read that book. I just haven't had a chance. But we're taught, and I'm not even a conservative, but this is something that's just taught in mainstream U.S. schools, that you have to value the the liberal viewpoint over the conservative. And one of the things that we don't really look into when it comes to FDR is he had certain bad things that went on, like his entirely racist policy of putting Japanese Americans in internment camps. They were U.S. citizens put into internment camps. People just talk about how bad that was, but they don't talk about what he did to them. And, I remember we read the stories about how horrible it was that the Japanese Americans were put in those camps, but we never talked about the person who did it, who signed the executive order to make it happen. Like, we never really talk about that. Even when Ronald Reagan signed to give them, like, some sort of, which is sad, they didn't even get the money, okay? Like some sort of retribution for what happened to them. We never really talked about, well, it was FDR who put them there. And when you read the stories about how Japanese Americans, they were Americans, U.S. citizens, they were on public transit, and this one girl heard people say that they should take all the Japanese Americans out to the sea and shoot. I mean, that must have just been scary. They were forced to leave all their things behind. They were forced to go to an internment camp. How is that American? And this was a U.S. president who did this, a Democrat one that is... I used to think FDR was great, but I don't know. I'm not saying he was completely evil, because I think every president has had their dark side, but I do think he was a little tyrannical, and that's something that you're just not going to hear from Democrats. They're just not going to tell you that, because that goes against saying that. So, I do believe that we needed some labor laws. I do believe unions have a place, because child labor, I don't agree with it. Appalling working conditions, I don't agree with that. I think Uber drivers deserve to have some sort of benefits. But when it comes to WGA and their strike, I'm not saying their strike isn't valid, and you should definitely support it, and maybe Drew Barrymore should have handled it better. But at the end of the day, people calling her names like that is gross, and it is bullying, and that woman has suffered a lot of abuse in her life. And I know people are like, but they're rich and they're in a position of power. But when did it become okay to become a misogynist towards her? And other women are doing that and just using foul language. And I said, why are we calling people names? And somebody's like, oh, that's okay, we're not calling names. Because basically, if somebody doesn't agree with you and they don't do exactly what you want, it's okay to pile on. I don't think that's okay. What if she just didn't agree with you guys? What if there was another world, and this has happened with some actors? Oh no, I personally don't like the opinions of Scott Baio, and I am not a fan of Donald Trump, but there is something wrong with the way people just learn, oh, I can't like this actor anymore because their opinions in real life are different than the character they play. So that just solidified to me why. I don't have kids, but if I did have kids, I think I probably wouldn't raise them on TV, period. And there is a way to be on social media and to avoid, the trending trends, I guess. I am making more of a concerted effort. If I go on TikTok in the future, I will swipe past videos like that. I don't really want these kind of videos in my mindset. I just don't think they're healthy, but everybody just doesn't see how bad it is. There's something really wrong with it. It's unhealthy. And I just think maybe people could do better, but we don't care about the real issues. We care about, calling out whatever actor it is of the week. But the real issues, real working issues, for real working people, I'm not saying that writers shouldn't be compensated more, but there's a lot of workers that probably need more protections than WGA workers who are making higher than a living wage. Okay? They're not homeless. I know somebody was on TikTok saying, but they're going to be homeless. Unless they were renting some really extravagant house or apartment, they're not homeless, okay? That's deceptive when people tell you that. I am more concerned about people that are actually working at Amazon and living in their car that are actually homeless, and how our state is not fixing the housing crisis. And supposedly there's funding for the mental health homeless crisis, but it doesn't seem to be allocated in the way that it's supposed to be allocated. There's a VA veteran homeless crisis not being allocated, but rather than people get mad about these real issues that are actually issues that they see because they walk past these people on the street every day, they are taking to the TikToks and the Instagram to call Drew Barrymore names because she didn't support a strike for an invite-only guild. By the way, it's invite-only. Not all writers get to be in there, but they all have to abide by the union protocol of the WGA, but it's invite only, and the people that write for them, maybe they should make more, but they're making far more. They're making over a living wage. So a lot of the things that people are telling us that we should feel is right. And why is this the only kind of creative work that's valued in our society? I don't know. It's I hate to say it, but the more these things happen, I used to think people were Lulu. And they said, oh, Hollyweird and how liberals are like dictators. I used to think people were nut jobs when they said things like that. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. That is crazy. But I don't know anymore. I don't agree with them either, because I think the conservatives go wacky woodle, like, oh gosh, like how they want to ban like what women do with their bodies. Ooh, gross. Like, no. And all sorts of other stuff. I don't agree with them on anything either, but I don't know. It just doesn't look good. It's not a good look. And yeah, all the people that claim that they're so pro like other people and solidarity, they're for solidarity if you say exactly what they say, and they won't even have a discussion with people, because if you say you don't agree with them, they'll block you or something. It's kind of weird. And they're calling Drew Barrymore like really horrendous names. It's not okay. Name calling of any kind is not okay. This woman has suffered abuse from her mother. She was starring in movies that are just so questionable, which I think she talked about later. Which, I mean, I don't know if she says that she feels like she was part of the Me Too movement, but there are some movies, I'm just like, she wasn't 18 yet, and she was in movies like very sexualized, okay? This is a woman that has suffered a lot of abuse in her life, and I think you picked the wrong person to go after, call names, call a scab. But will any of the people who did that be humbled? No, they're on Instagram and TikTok saying it's not good enough because she didn't agree with them from the beginning. It's not good enough. But they don't really care about any of the other people, just the WGA people. They don't care about... and there were people that said this on her Instagram. They don't care about the other people working on the show. They just don't. And I hate to tell you this, but you shouldn't force people to make a decision that conforms with your morality. That's bullying, plain and simple. We should all be able... And some people were saying, oh my gosh, she used I too much in her post. She should have said we instead of I. Why? She's gonna try and please her audience because that's the kind of person she is. But I personally think there's something very, very, very problematic about that. Because who is the we? Because it changes every week. Keep up, my friends. Do you want to continue to just follow every trend? I don't know. I think there's got to be a way to be on social media without being on social media. And I'm not saying that I'm going to delete TikTok yet. But maybe I will if it keeps getting weird like this. Because I'm just like, why does TikTok think that we need to take a position on everything? And a certain position. And I worry about people because I don't even have the deepest opinion on this. Like, at the end of the day, what I'm talking about is I don't think it's okay to call Drew Barrymore names, and you should just respect whatever decision she makes and let her be. And that's it. That's what I'm saying. I don't really care if people strike or don't strike or they're pro-union or anti-union. I mean, I don't care. I think that there is some validity for unions. I do think we need unionization, but I think it's more for people that are making far less than WGA workers. But I don't know. All the people that are saying, oh, no, like, their strike is going to help everybody. It's going to help these specific writers. And a lot of the other people, like, there were actually some people, because I looked these things up on Reddit, who said that they work on shows. They're not going to put their names, of course. They said, well, they're not going to benefit anything. So if the WGA strike actually gets the terms that they want, it's not going to benefit them for the line of work that they do in TV shows. So that's interesting. That's interesting. But at the end of the day, I think when you look and you see how much they're making, and then you look and see, like, people are saying, oh, they're going to be homeless if they don't get what they need, and they're making like $4,000 a week as a minimum salary. I mean, I don't know what your lifestyle is or where you're living, but even in LA, you should be able to handle it. You could live in a smaller place. I mean, that doesn't really congeal. And I just mentioned that there's actually people, like, I do think that unions are good. There's actually people, like, that work for warehouses that are making a lot less. There's people that work in all sorts of fields that are making a lot less. And they probably need workers' protections more than WGA people. But I don't know what the solution is. But then on the same token, I also have gotten to the point in my life that I just don't want to be one of those people who tells a business that they must be like union, or if they're right to work that they're bad. Because I feel like a lot of it is divisiveness against bigger issues, and when we look at how the economy's going, a lot of these things, like, we're not talking about inflation, and inflation's going to get worse and worse, and I don't know. And why are we... I'm not saying that I'm completely deleting TikTok, but I have some major concerns about it. I did before. I mean, yeah, we know it's a Chinese spy app. Yeah, not surprising. That's what it is, okay? Of course it's affiliated with the PRC. You can't own a company in China without being affiliated with the PRC. You pretend to be and they do have a form of capitalism in China, even though people are like, oh. So basically, it's a weird kind of government, corporate capitalism where you have to abide by whatever, like, the PRC leaders want. It's weird. But they're definitely becoming more of a dominant power, and I think they probably delight in Americans being divisive, and it's just weird that we can't have a normal conversation. Another thing I wanted to say about the whole Drew Barrymore thing is it just used to be more fun to, like, talk about movies, and people just used to make good and fun movies, and I just don't know, like, today just doesn't seem fun to be a young person, like, if this is the kind of vibe. Like, my nephew's not like this, though. But he's not into all this political stuff. Like, he's very chill. But I just kind of feel sad for a lot of Gen Z people, because I know that people talk about anxiety and mental health, but I think that a lot of the things that are being told to you that you need to support and you must follow without questioning, and then calling a woman who has been subjected to horrible trauma names like that, like, really, like, you picked the wrong person. They're not doing it to Bill Maher, because at the end of the day, maybe liberals are misogynists too. I don't know. Maybe liberals are misogynists too. I hate to say it, but yeah, it's gross. All these names that they're calling her, like the people on TikTok, so I'm through. I'm not going to look at it anymore. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff you see when you go on TikTok. That's inspirational. Not so much. I guess the reason I found out about it was because I said near my phone the other day that I like a Drew Barrymore movie. And I didn't even know this was going on. I just happened to mention near my phone the other day, I like a Drew Barrymore movie. And of course, TikTok's on my phone, and it knows that I like a Drew Barrymore movie, so then it showed me this, and it told me how I should feel about it. Yeah, it was not so delightful. But I don't know what's up with the people that just want to spew mean, hateful comments about others. And I don't like this new dynamic. I'm not a fan of it. Like, why? How? For what purpose does it serve us? It doesn't serve us, but hey, keep them divided, and you shall conquer. It's pure Roman Empire, harkening back to biblical times, Roman Empire times. Keep people divided, keep them bickering, keep them, like, focused on the wrong things, and then you can profit. There's somebody profiting off all this, but, you know, I digress. So, yeah, I still like Drew Barrymore. Yeah, it's gross what people said about her. It's weird that people were forcing her to take a certain position. Could she have made a better decision? Maybe. I mean, should she have kicked out a couple of people wearing pins in a show, but she might not have known? I don't know. Like, I just think it's absurd, like, the amount of people reacting to this. It's definitely a first world problem, because, like I said, there's a bigger problem in the U.S. and many other countries called homelessness and mental health and housing that affect people that are truly suffering. And I'm just gonna say it at the end of the day, a WGA employee might want to make more money, and maybe they deserve to make more money, but I lived through this back in the 80s, okay, when I was a little kid, and then later on in the 90s, I think they did it again, and then they did it again, like, in 2007 and 8, and I just have to say, like, what was the resolution? It turned out for a while, ooh, do you know where reality TV came from? You know, all that stuff that people love to watch, the reality TV shows that became so popular, you know where that came from? Oh, not giving the WGA, like, the terms that they wanted. They decided for a while that it'd be cheaper to have a couple of writers, like, create fictional plot lines for a reality TV show. And that's where that genre came from, you know? So, hi. So, yeah, I kind of am over it. I just don't see the point of being so up in arms over every little thing that's happening. I think if you do go on TikTok, just be very selective. If it starts telling you, like in a video, somebody starts telling you how you should feel about something, pause for a moment and do some your own research before coming to a conclusion. If you see somebody say bad words in a comment section of a TikTok video, then pause and step away, you know? Anyways, I don't know. So that's just what I have to say about that. I just kind of wanted to talk about a current topic. As for other things, like plans for my channel. Okay, so of course I want to do more hair live streams. I might soon get an edited video on top. I just haven't really been in the mood to do an edited video per se. Like, I thought about putting my Disneyland footage together and making a video. Maybe I might do that. Maybe, we'll see. And that would just be like a smaller video. But right now I'm just kind of relaxing and I'm like thinking about what I want to do with my channel. I still love doing hair live streams. Those are fun. I'm just the kind of person that I think I've just really reached the conclusion that I'm just not a fan of like extremely edited. And I actually went on somebody else's live stream tonight that just popped up in my YouTube feed, and I kind of, because he was talking about how, oh wow, Casey Neistat has these really beautiful vlogs, and I just pointed out to him, and he kind of acknowledged that. Casey Neistat probably has a team. Maybe he is. Maybe it's just because he has free time, but I'm sure he has people who help him out. And look, the ones that are honest, like Bailey Sarian, like she says, you know what, I'm able to do this show. Like she has her true crime podcast because she has people that help write and research it for her. Okay? So a lot of times when you see that really beautifully curated content, there's somebody behind them that's helping them put that together. And a lot of the people that do that are filmmakers and editors, and maybe they're right. I don't know, maybe some of them are WGA writers. And I have nothing against WGA writers, by the way. At the end of the day, if they want to strike, that is their right as Americans to strike. I believe, because we still have freedom of choice in our country, that it is still the right of companies to be right to work. But I know that's, I mean, I'm not saying that that's always a good decision. Maybe Drew Barrymore should have thought more about this thing since we live in California. And in Arizona, maybe that would have been okay. I'm not a fan of Arizona, by the way, because I really hate their hot take on immigration and how they treat people that cross the border. Disagree with that so much. But I don't know, like Californians are just like, oh, we're right to work and oh blah blah, because I don't know, maybe some small businesses can't afford to hire a whole bunch of employees and give them all the benefits that a bigger business could. Yeah, bigger businesses probably should. And what if we want to be an independent contractor? Or what if a person and a business agree together to be right to work? And what if other businesses agree and other people agree to have unions? I think that there's a place for all sorts of work relationships. And I don't know, I guess Drew Barrymore really should have been like more pro-union, but I don't know what to tell you at the end of the day. I do think, like, well, given the situation, given that it is California, and given that she does come from, I guess, a union actor background, but I do think people are inflating this, and the gross commentary towards her is pretty gross and pretty hypocritical and pretty bullying. And yeah, Bill Maher did the same thing, and he's done it like quite a few more times than her. And this is her first rodeo, but you know, she's a woman, and we just have to say these kind of things about other women were saying some kind of gross things too. But I don't know. Maybe this is just a new thing. Like, it's encouraged, and some people are like, "Oh, now that she made the right choice, we will stop like being on her. We'll stop piling on." But no, maybe you shouldn't have piled on the beginning. I don't know. What if she just decided to make her own choice and have her own decision? Then what would you have done? I mean, I get it, but should we not allow people to make their own choices? I guess that's not allowed with some people now. I don't know. It's kind of weird. And I'm just going to say I'm done thinking about it. There's definitely a place for unionization in the world. There's a place for right to work. I think everybody can find their own comfort level and where they feel best. And I think that should be a decision between two consenting individuals, not a solidarity, because that starts to sound a little PRC-ish, you know. But hey, like, we don't think through issues sometimes. We just want to react. And at the end of the day, does it really matter? No, it doesn't. At the end of the day, yeah. Drew Barrymore really didn't do anything bad. Honestly, don't think so. If you look at the bigger issue, why doesn't Gavin Newsom address homelessness? Why aren't people upset about that? That is a real issue. The people are not upset about that. Actually, they're kind of upset the other way. They don't want to see homeless people. But, you know, oh no, the WGA workers didn't get paid enough. Which one is it? I don't know. That's just why. Yeah, I just find it. And then for all the people that are so worried about, like, Drew's workers, why don't you guys create a fund and help the workers then? Instead of, like, I'm just done, because I feel like there's nothing you can do. Like, when it comes to social media trends, avoid them. You can be on social media, but look beyond the U.S. Like, I want to start talking about things happening in Turkey, like Iran, Georgia, France, the U.K. Can we stop talking about U.S. politics all the time? Because both American and liberals and conservatives love to only talk about Americans. It's a little narcissistic. I mean, yeah, the whole thing is narcissistic. All of this is narcissistic. It's weird. The whole thing is a train wreck. And protect yourself. Just scroll past it. Anyway. Those are my thoughts on that. It's not okay to call anybody a name, especially somebody that was a child actress that had been kind of compromised in a lot of ways. Became an alcoholic before she was 13, went to AA or some sort of rehab before she was 13, starred in questionable movies, and maybe she was emancipated, but oh my gosh, what about the movie directors that gave the okay on that? Yeah, you know, you picked the wrong person, in my view, to say those things to. You know, it could have really, really affected her. But nobody thought about that. And then nobody was, like, dragging Bill Maher for doing the same thing she has only done once, that he's done many times. But hey, he's a man. I don't know. We have the double standard times, and I hate to say it, sometimes liberals do misogynistic things too, and they just don't really admit it. This has been an exercise in misogyny, guys. All the people that said anything gross about Drew Barrymore, yeah, you guys knock it off. It's not okay. It's gross. I'm sorry that Instagram thinks it's okay and TikTok thinks it's okay, but I guess that tells you what they think, and I don't know. I don't think it's okay. I really don't. I just know that I'm gonna kind of keep to my own self. I'm gonna still do some live streams with Aya, but and I really mean it this time, that I'm not gonna be engaging with a lot of videos. Oh, I mean it this time. I've just had enough. I've had enough of everything, and it's just, I've decided everything, I put myself first, and I don't like the toxicity that is promoted on social media sometimes. So I put myself first, foremost, always. Yeah, put yourself first, always. No apologies, no explanations. Just always put yourself first. Because you are first and foremost, most important in your life, because you can't take care of other people unless you can take care of yourself. And I want to be a good steward towards other people, so everything I do is for me. And so what's future on tap? Me and Aya have things planned, like weekly live stream. I might get back to doing videos that I really enjoy, but yeah, those are the things that we're going to be doing, and I'm so excited for it. No, you're funny. I don't know what you mean, Jelly Beanies. What are you talking about? Yes, we should only do hairstyles that we love as women. This is my plan. I just want to do hairstyles that I love as a woman. I don't like to do hairstyles that men like. None of that. Because no man has ever known my hair the way I know my hair. And I finally came to that conclusion. So this is another thing I want to talk about. No man has ever known my hair. You can appreciate my hair, but no man has ever known my hair. And I don't really want to ever indulge any man again that pretends to know my hair. Nope, none of that. And yeah, so in my quest, I'm just like, when I talked about the braiding thing, it's because I'm so tired of men running around on any platform thinking that they can talk about women's hair and what hairdos women should do. I just don't want any more. I've reached my upper limit of that. So I will not indulge it anymore. You can like whatever hairstyle I do, but that's it. There will be no indulging in the men's who think that they can tell a woman what kind of hairstyle she should do today. That's not what we're doing here. I just do my hair and I do story time with you. That was my little story time. But as of now, I'm done with men who like any kind of hairstyle they think women should do. It's been too much, it's been too long, it's too prolonged. Like there's always these men that say, oh, this hairstyle, that hairstyle, the other one. Nobody cares. Like, honestly. People that like long hair, they're not like that. There's actually men that are growing their hair long and they post their own hair. Mega respect for those men. Mega respect, okay? They have their own hair accounts. They do their own hair journey. And I'm just at the point that I had to do like some deep dive thinking about it. I can't interact with something I don't respect anymore. Like a lot of men have lost my respect. Because they didn't really admire long hair. They just wanted to, like, put their fetish on me. And I'm just like, no. No, buddies. You can have your fetish, but leave me out of it. I don't want to know. And I don't want to participate in whatever your interpretation of beautiful hair is. Or blah, blah, blah. What? You feel like I'm going to end what? Because I'm braiding my hair? Well, it's just because I brush out my hair to a certain point, right? Like, there's a certain point that I have to get my hair braided. So, that's why I brush my hair. So, that's the only reason, because I just want to braid my hair so it's not completely... Yeah, I just want to bring my hair. But yeah, that's the reason. I hate stalking. I do. I hate stalking. I don't like it at all. The stalky walky behavior of the world, like, really, no, it's not okay. I hate that. Like, my platform is not a place for people to perpetuate something, so just let things go. That's it. And that's all I'm going to say about it. And gross, just don't look at that person's comments, okay? Not everybody commenting on here should be commenting on here, and I'm not gonna go into why, but they know why, and I don't have time to block everybody everywhere every minute, but yeah. I was hoping there'd be more self-control with that, but alas, it has not perpetuated, so just, yeah, don't. You can talk to me first, but that's it. You don't need to be, like, there's just some things going on right now in the comment section that I don't really want, but, you know, it's a free society. Once again, I'm not trying to take people's freedom away. I'm all about my own protection, though, and I just reached the point that I just don't want to explain myself. Like, I try to get along with everybody, but I have an upper limit. I just, like, you know when I always talk about going quiet on my Western Front? I literally mean that. When I'm done, I'm done. I am done. Like, I'm 100% done. I don't change my mind. I'm done. And that's it. And you have the right in life to be done with something. And I am. When I'm done, I'm done. I'm not even talking, like, okay, so this live stream has been about a completely different topic. I'm not even talking about, anyway, I'm just not going to acknowledge that, so hopefully this person can stop. up. I just had to do what I had to do. So there we go. So we can be somewhat in peace. Yeah, it's a little bit better. Oh, I'm gonna answer some of Crush's comments because his were like pertinent. Yeah, I might sleep in a bit, and thank you for watching. Well, if you wanted to hear what the topic was, I did talk about it earlier, but now I'm just in kind of more like, I have my piece. This is how I always do a live stream. I get kind of worked up about something, I say what I have to say, like the big thing, and then I'm kind of like, I said my point, now I can relax. Okay, this is a good point. I like this. Okay, very good point. Okay, this is a very good point. One thing you have to remember, and Dana White nails this, how he runs the UFC. People get paid according to... Wait, I want that comment to come back. This is a really good comment. I agree with you 100% because look, that's what the free market economy is, and that is what keeps markets competitive. And look, there's definitely people in this world that are like, I'm not anti-union. Like, I do think if you're in a very low like wage job and you're doing a lot of manual labor where you can be put in jeopardy if there's not protections for you, like, yeah, I definitely believe that. But these people like WGA, UFC, all that, they're making good money. They're not near homelessness. And the people that... So that's a really good point. I do feel like there is something to meritocracy. If you are a good performer, shouldn't you make more money than I don't know, somebody who has a side role. I agree with you. I know that's not popular right now, and they think everybody, but I just thought, you know, if you want to be a rich person, then I don't know, go and get your MBA. Go work for it. Like, and people are like, but you can't do that nowadays. But there's a lot of entrepreneurial people that do Uber and Lyft, and they have their own businesses on the side. And I don't know, I've talked to some people, they might not be millionaires, but they're doing well for themselves. And they start out small and they build up to where they want to be. So I just don't think we should like act like, oh my gosh, like everybody needs to be forced to do exactly what WGA wants. That's a very good point. But at the end of the day, I'm going to say I don't want to be absolute on everything, because I do think there can be a balance. But I agree, like if the UFC doesn't want to have a union and they pay their workers or their performers to meritocracy, that's fine. I don't see that as a problem. People should, you know, be supportive of free market economy. We don't want a completely socialized economy. It doesn't work. Like what happened to the Soviet Union? And in China today, like I'm saying, it is not completely socialized. They are not taking care of everybody in the country. Like it's not utopia. And when people make these comments like, oh, the evils of capitalism, like, I'm like, you just sound like you're a robot. Besides, I'm not even a fan of, like, corporate capitalism. I was always more of a fan of the free market economy. And I like the entrepreneurial spirit. And that's how all my great-grandparents on my dad's side came to America. So if it was such a bad thing, why did it work for them? But anyway, we live in a very divisive time where we're not allowed to explore the truth. Or certain people on the internet don't want you to look for the truth or figure out what your own opinion is. Like we're all allowed to have our own opinion at the end of the day. Oh my golly. It's surprising, right? We can each have our own opinion. Everybody can have their own opinion. We don't all have to have the same automatic opinion that some TikToker says is the correct one. Like you can actually think about an issue and you can come to your own conclusions. And unlike the people that said that it makes Drew Barrymore a bad person, I actually don't care what opinion people have. What I don't like is that all of a sudden it's cool to call people like names on the internet because they did something you didn't like. But you know, what do I know? It just isn't as much fun nowadays, I'm telling you. Like, I knew that was part of the reason I stopped watching movies. They became less creative. And if this is what people are fighting for, is the movies that aren't even that interesting to me, and K-dramas and Turkish shows are more interesting, like Magnificent Century. Well, I heard that the Turkish shows aren't quite as exciting anymore, but those shows, oh boy. You know who was the most talented actress on that Turkish show, Magnificent Century? Meryem Uzerli, a German actress. She got underpaid by a lot. She was severely underpaid. Oh, and they worked their crews like hard. It's not like American film crew production, but what they created was amazing. It's better than a lot of American shows out right now. Go watch Magnificent Century on YouTube. There's a reason a lot of people are watching K-drama and Turkish shows over like Hollywood shows anyway. Like I did watch the Barbie movie. It was okay. Little too politicized in points, but I just don't have any inclination to go watch a show or a movie. Like there's nothing. Movies used to be more fun, creative. I'm sure there are good creative writers, but I just don't understand, like, what is it that they're creating that excites me so much? I don't feel it right now. But that's why a lot of people are watching shows from overseas, and they're not even, like, necessarily watching the American shows. But you can't tell people that because they're like, that's not true. American shows are the best ones and the most innovative ones. Well, maybe 20, 30 years ago, yeah, but K-dramas are pushing you guys out. So you can have, that's another thing I was thinking too, like you can have all the WGA strikes, but there's a reason Hollywood is becoming more obsolete anyway. It's just the caliber of entertainment put out by, well, first off, I don't even love movies that much anyway. It's just the caliber has gone down by a lot. It's just not as good anymore. Well, I've always been more centrist, I think. Even though I thought I was more of a Democrat growing up, I began to realize, well, this is the thing. I don't know. It just seemed like even people that were Democrats back when I was young, they just weren't like, well, my family, like, yeah, they still love Democratic policies. They just weren't as, like, vitriolic. Like, they didn't hate their neighbors, like, if they had different political opinions. Like, I actually grew up in a very conservative community in Southern California. Like, San Bernardino County is super conservative up until Obama, so a lot of people voted Republican. Like, I knew a lot of conservative kids growing up. Like, maybe it was just different. Like, I don't know, people didn't hate each other back then for political views and beliefs and whatever. But California is more of a mix than people think. Everybody thinks California is really liberal. LA is very liberal. San Francisco is very liberal. Orange County and San Bernardino County have some very conservative pockets. And I just don't resonate with conservatism, but at the same token, you have the right to have whatever belief you want, and I'm sick of these people that try to tell you what you should think and feel and what's correct. I don't like it at all. It's gross. It's cringe. That's what's cringe, not Drew Barrymore, like, kind of not wanting to bow to the WGA, but then bowing anyway. It's weird, like, but these are the things that they like to distract us with. Oh, they put all that money into homeless housing and vouchers. Oh, but it doesn't exist. Like, for the people who need it, can't find it. But the money was put into it. Where'd it go? What happened to it? I don't know. We know, but I can't tell you. You know? Wrong priorities. Different day. Yeah, no, it is not pro-freedom, and you know that they're doing divide and conquer Rome and Paul. If you study history, you know that. It's yeah, they're really masterful at doing that, and they pay TikTok influencers to go to China now. Do TikTok influencers get paid to have other opinions that might create division? You know? I'm sure people would take money for that, but oh no, like, anyway, that's enough about that. At the end of the day, everybody can have whatever opinion they want under the sun. I actually will continue to read about politics and history as I always have, but I'm definitely going to try to look beyond or look deeper into when you're being told something and it's being pushed really hard with negative and gross language. I'm definitely going to look into why people are doing that and know why it's not good. And hopefully most of the people that are kind-hearted will do the same, but I don't know. I really don't know. I just hope for our future that people don't call celebrities bad names because some bandwagon told them to do it, you know? It's kind of gross. You've been distracted again. Welcome to distraction. It's the best way to keep us divided. And hey, the people creating the vision, they're both getting together as friends behind the scenes, and they're making money. Isn't that fun? You've been had, but hey, another day, another dollar. Thanks for watching.